Welcome to Get Chatty About Your Local Businesses, a podcast about small businesses, side hustles, and independent projects that are LGBT plus or allies. We also talk about marketing and operation because most of us are bound to wear multiple hats in that space. Quick note, I don't stop myself from swearing, so consider yourself warned. Ultimately, I would love to bring more awareness to small businesses in Melbourne and Victoria. If you're also running a small business, side hustle, and independent projects, I hope you pick up bits and pieces that might help you with what you do. And for the general public, how about seeing this as a bit of entertainment for half an hour, or a little bit of an education piece about the community? Why am I saying the community? It's the community. Oh gosh, I'm recording this a little bit late, okay? In this episode, I talked to Lucas, who appeared on my YouTube channel back in 2021 and was my first straight ally friend in Melbourne. We discussed various topics such as privacy, data literacy, and the challenges associated with small business operations. As with many conversations with old friends, we ran into tangents. We chatted about lookalike audience in social media marketing and ways to build and utilize these available things meaningfully. We shared skepticisms about the effectiveness of email marketing, actuarial modeling, and potential bias of the back end of most digital spaces. In the last episode, I talked to Marissa, who's been running her business full-time for years. And as for me or Lucas, we switched from full-time to a side hustle model for different reasons. Work-life balance, career satisfaction, personal goals, or children and family. Changing your business from a full-time model to anything else is not a failure. Everyone has individual circumstances and priorities when navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship and work-life development. As for me, it's about not falling out of love with what I do and understanding my own limits. This is a good chat, and if you're interested in some digital stuff, oh gosh, that sounds wrong. Anyway, well, stick around for about half an hour with us. Now, Lucas, before we start talking about it, I want to ask you, how old were you in 1988?
Oh, I was just a figment of imagination in my parents' mind in 1988. No, I was 10 years of age by then.
I was 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. So we were, but you know what? The reason that I was asking about that, because that was the last time that the Australian Privacy Act being updated. Is that scary? Because things change a little bit, if I'm being modest.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just listened to a short podcast on the power is back with the users now. So I think that's really important. I think one of the things that small business, and I've done this in the past, I've kind of glossed over the importance of privacy and data protection, and now the user can actually say, look, I want my data removed, and you can really get caught out as a business, and particularly like if you're charging subscriptions and things like that, and the user suddenly says, hey, firstly, you have to explain how you're using their data if they ask. And I just don't think any businesses really take it seriously, but it's a leverage point.
Yeah. One of the biggest difference between 2023, I think, is a bit of a turning point when it comes to data policy, is that many people have a lot stronger data literacy. They understand their right about what they can do, what the power of their data is. So with the introduction of a law in 2023, I'm gonna superimpose the information on here. I don't remember it by heart. Is that I think from a small business point of view, is that we're gonna be mindful what we put on our website, and also and also we need to put in the time that is. For example, if someone put in a request, could you please remove me from the database? You have to do it. That is by law. You have to do it in 4 days. Now, I understand that, like, some people would be like, oh, what are they going to do? Take me to court. I was like, well, yeah. I mean, do you really want that to happen to you? And the other part of it is the reputation effect. If someone take your business to court, that's something that's
Yeah.
gonna shit on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
I think we when you think about now about exporting products and importing products, I had an example where I'm based in Australia. I'm just a small PTY Ltd, and I was subscribing to a software product that was located in Canada, and they were promising the world, etc., and that all the terms and conditions and privacy policies. And when push come to shove, I was able to leverage that because they're actually obligated to abide by the laws in Australia, right? Which is a different sort of protection. And I don't think they knew that. So the minute I said to them, look, there's a potential data breach here, for example, they then have to go and investigate whether there is a potential data breach. And if there is, report it to local authorities. Like it's a cluster muck, right? So as a user now, we should be, and we are now more in charge of our data. So organisations are more liable. Individuals need to know that you've got the power, and organisations need to behave better because our data is so important.
Just to say, you can say clusterfuck on this podcast.
Clusterfuck, yeah.
Yeah, you're too polite.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very interesting. I think as a thought topic of this one is that from a small business point of view, is that from it personally, like I can't speak for you, I can't speak for anyone listening, is that personally, I would rather do the right thing so I don't have to deal with the complication after. It's a lot cheaper.
Do the right thing and realize the simple basics of, if you're trying to sell a product, whether it's tangible, intangible, you have to, offer a refund and those sort of things. Just get up to date with it in the country that you're doing business with. So for Australia, it's Australian consumer something. It's nice and clear on our website, what you have to do business in Australia, and just abide by it. Yeah.
And I have a hot tip for all the small business out there is that now, firstly, if you have a contact list of people who opt in to your newsletter, with that information, you can actually build a customized look-alike audience on your social media campaign. So you can actually establish that based on that. You can do that on Meta, as in Facebook and Instagram, on LinkedIn and such as. And the thing is, this is the part that you are being responsible. You are using data based on what people already opt in. They are aware of their right. They are aware of what they do. And this is a great way to promote your business without crossing the line.
This might be a question for me to ask you because I don't know.
Okay, go for it.
What is a lookalike? I've heard it mentioned a few times. But
So what happened is the information that they already collected, unfortunately, on our social media is that everyone, there's a profile out there. I think we talked about that before.
Actuarial modeling.
That one. I still can't pronounce that word. Anyway, but the amazing thing is with that information is that everyone who has a social media presence, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and such as, the platforms already have some idea of who they are. Now, if you have a contact list of about 500 people, preferably 1,000, but even if you have 250 people, that's already enough data that you feed into the system.
I see what you're saying.
That they can come up with similar people who are similar to these group of people.
But would those similar people still have to opt in order for us to use their client data?
Well, that depending on their service agreement with the platform. Because these individuals, this is the part.
I see what you're saying.
See, I mean, this is the evil part. I mean, if you're an audience, if you're using the digital platform, the social media platform for yourself, you can actually put in the privacy setting to switch off all of those ads. But if you haven't switched off of that, you can be exposed to.
So are you telling me that if I have my own proprietary list of say 500 customers and different factors, I can feed that into Meta, and Meta will give me a lookalike because people have already opted into Meta of similar people meeting my, demographic.
Yes-ish, but they would not give you a list of people. However, when you publish an ad, these people would do that.
Okay, great.
So
I didn't know that.
we need to talk.
I never knew what a lookalike was.
I think one of the things that is, if you are, what I would advise to a lot of small businesses is, if you are using lookalike audience, make sure that your original data are from people who opt in, who agree to be part of this. And then on top of that, make sure that on the messaging, the content of the ad, that you say, hey, is this your interest? Make sure you sign on to this list. Like go to a landing page of subscribing to your newsletter or such as. That's a way that you can grow your database legally and ethically, I guess. Because the thing is, like, ultimately, I'm not buying a database, but I am using the platforms, the way that they built that, to find the lookalike, the similar people to promote what I do with. So,
I felt like this year might have been the year of death for email marketing campaigns. I didn't get much bite. And spend a bit of money on that. So that's interesting.
Well, look, I mean, people are skeptical.
And I don't blame them. The first thing I do in the morning when I open my email is delete 30 to 40 emails that I'm on subscription with. Like, that's as a habit. It only takes 30 seconds, but still it's, I don't open them. And actually, you know what? I do open some if I'm on mobile, but that's to delete them. So they're probably at their end thinking, oh, we've got to look.
Oh, yes. We got an impression. We got an impression. And that's another issue with a lot of digital marketers. That's contributing to the vanity stats. They always like, oh, it's an impression. It helps. And then they put it in a report to the senior manager or general manager. It's like, oh, yes, we got these open rates because what you did to open to delete it, it's an open rate. But then it was like, oh, honey, no.
It's opening it to delete it.
But then it's like, that's why I think there is something useful about what we got, because I mean, we talked about it in the past about not trying to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes building your lookalike audience with the right type of messaging on your online ad. Like, for example, come sign up on our mailing list or something like that. That could really help developing your
I think for small business, it's just genuine, isn't it? Like, if somebody genuinely opts in because they do understand that you've got an offer and it might appeal to them, that's where you're going to get value. But like buying 1,000 email addresses and broadcasting out, like, I've tried it all in the past. And, it's a fool's game.
And it is very exhausting. It's very exhausting because the thing is, there are millions and billions of people out there. How are you going to know that you're going to reach your audience? Because I think the thing is, for me, I'm considering myself very fortunate because I have a full-time job, and also like, this is the Chatty curator stuff is, if you make quote unquote side hustle. So I can be a little bit selective about what I do. But for many small businesses, this is their bread and butter. That's just like, so that's why if I'm advising a small business, I would rather they spend their money and get the most out of it. So that's why I would rather them do it the right way, opt in. Get the opt-in and build the lookalike, build their online advertising campaign based on that.
Don't just copy and paste somebody's privacy policy, because it can come back to bite you if you don't know what it means.
Oh gosh. Anyway, well, as a little bit of thought topic, I want to talk a little bit about the word that you're talking about that I couldn't pronounce.
Actuarial modeling.
Actuarial modeling.
All right.
Like, because we talked about that because I think, was it insurance or something like that we talk about? They have an idea of who we are and when we're going to die.
I guess that leads into what we talk about. Your AI is only as good as the data it can access, right? So we've got descriptive data is, based on the historical data, this is what's happened. House prices in Windsor performed on this bell curve over this period of time. Great. Predictive analytics is then a step further. It's like, well, how can I use that information to make an informed purchase, for example? Then there's one level after that, which is like prescriptive, where the model starts to sort of inform you about the decisions to make. So there's 3 levels of basic data analytics: descriptive, prescriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. Where actuarial modeling comes into it, actuarial modeling's been around for a long time. Like life insurance, how do they know? We're born in 1978 and 79 and we live a nice, clean, healthy lifestyle, and this factor and this factor, and we go to bed at 8 p.m. and eat our vegetables, we're going to live to this age, right? in that case, we're going to charge you, this level of insurance. How do they know that? Because they've looked at mountains of data about people's lifestyles over the years to know with a certain amount of probability when we'll die. I mean, that's what life insurance is, right? And you can apply that to all other things. Like we can now look at buying a house, where's
or,
the area,
or even the lookalike audience that we just
Yeah,
talked about.
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
because the thing is, the algorithm has a certain understanding of who you are
Yep,
as a person.
that's right.
Look, I mean, the
Yep.
thing is,
Yep.
I'm presuming, but
Yeah.
I don't go to bed by 8.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I was like, I'm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best way that I get around for all these insurance quote and things like that is they never ask me what kind of shit I talk to people about, because like
Yeah.
if they know that the shit I tell people about, I'm gonna be ran over by someone in 10 years time.
And I tick the box that I've never smoked, but when your sample size is large enough, it overcomes those deficiencies.
It does.
It is remarkably accurate.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I found very interesting and a little bit weird is that I had a health check, and they told me that people with Asian heritage are more likely to get diabetes or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I talked to 2 different GPs.
Yeah.
One of them, well, not Asian, and he was like, I'm not sure about that. That might be some data information. And the other one is Asian. I was like, that's untrue. But the interesting thing is, because all of these things have been built for generations. So in a way, the look-alike audience that we talk about is really just the next step of it.
Yeah.
And
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So
and it's scary because a lot of people think that they can be smarter than the algorithms and the data. Like, for example, I want to start a business. I believe that this is a problem. I believe I can solve it. I believe I've got the capabilities. But if you put personal bias and all of that aside, the decision you're going to make is going to be heavily influenced by algorithms. And that's what we're all coming to terms with. Like, and I said to my partner the other day, we're talking about buying another house, and it's like, she's like, I just know where to go. And I'm like, well, are you smarter than the algorithms? Are you smarter than 30 years of historical data that we've got here that suggests that that's not a good purchase? And it's a way of thinking, isn't it?
No, I think unfortunately we're living in a time that no matter if you're a side hustle person, small business owner or operator, or just someone with aspiration, is that you do need to keep a little bit of skepticism. You do need to be a little pessimistic about that. I'm not asking you to trust the data, because the data can be wrong.
For sure.
Whoever built that can have a bias. However,
absolutely.
When you come to, like, for example, if we circle back to the small business space, is that I would not advise a small business to invest into an ad until they have a small database that they can build a lookalike audience with, or they have enough content on the website that when people saw the ad, they can find a landing page with useful information to see.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key takeaway I want to share on this episode is that build your content, build your story before you do that. Because the thing is, you can't control anything about the algorithm or the
actuarial modeling.
Modeling, yes.
Yeah. The data's already there. And you made a good point that the bias, if we're talking about the decisions we're making now due to algorithms are based on past historical data, then these decisions are only as good as the decisions made for each one. Like, if you look at investing in companies, right, and you might invest only in male, white, business founders, that's going to then be reflected in the past historical data. So we can't go back and fix issues with diversity because the data can't be expected to do that. It's only as good as past historical data.
So to summarize this segment, we need to bring awareness to the power and weakness of data. Should you get to a point where you would like to do some digital advertising for your small business, hypothesize the part of the market that is most different from you as you're making your plan. Digital platforms recommend things based on their algorithmic knowledge of you And you could be exposed to content over time that is designed to people similar to yourself. So your digital ads should have variation to those non-you market, if that makes sense. Actually, if don't, feel free to send me a message. Happy to explain a little bit. Anyway, say if you have a VPN to set locations or use an incognito browser, do a little fun exercise to search the same terms on your usual browser and with one on one of those tools mentioned. You may start to notice your location, profile, name, gender, age, and such as may influence the results that you see. I have a feeling this discussion deserves a part two. Meanwhile, let's hear from one of the podcast OG supporters, and we'll be back with Lucas shortly. I want to thank Candy Buffet Co., one of the podcast OG supporters. They are marketing your brand deliciously. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. What does that mean, Marissa?
Well, we're both designers and culinary experts, so we know what looks good and what tastes delicious. We create perfect candy buffets that involve a touch of decorative magic.
And in addition to that, you also do donut walls and grazing tables. Very versatile, isn't it?
Oh, versatile is good. So when I realized that I wanted to spend my life making things beautiful, food just happened to be the way that I decided to do it.
Well, not only is beautiful, you're the only certified food handling lolly buffet business in Australia. So it's not like a random friend of a cousin unpacking with bare hands, giving everyone food poisoning, isn't it?
Gross. No, that's definitely not us.
Lovely. And so once again, thank you so much, Marissa and the Candy Buffet Co. team for supporting the podcast. Why not check out their website, give them a follow on social, or take a look at the donut wall on Instagram. Tell a friend about them and let's get chatty about your local and allied businesses. You'll find the contact on the show notes. All right, well, shall we move to the next topic?
Okay.
Now, this is a difficult one for our listeners, if you may, for the small business and people. Work-life balance.
Oh, jeez. It's another tough one. Geez, if you're going to start a business, probably do it before you have kids. I don't know. What's
enough
the answer
said.
To that one?
Enough said. Oh, well, look, I mean, for me, I always do a little bit of. I've been even include the 2023 stories that I was talking about. Understanding my limit is I stop think about what I want to do, which includes my day job that would occupy this many hours that I do. But also, well, I want to put some hours aside for socializing. Yep. I want to meet up with people. Yeah. I want to be creative. I want to do things. I just want to have me time.
Yeah.
Like, that's my little work-life balance. I think there are different contexts for different people. For example, if someone working on a small business full-time, some of the things that they need to think about is how many hours a week they need to do that, and also setting up that boundary between their business and their life. Now, for someone with a side hustle, they need to think about it as their full-time job, how much time and effort they need to put in, how much time and effort they can put in other parts of life, and then how much they can put in the side hustle. Yeah. So that's, Good. Well, before we go into the next topic, what would you consider, if I'm going to ask you on top of your head, this is not prepared, so I might cut this one out, but this is not prepared. But if I have to ask you, if you have to answer me, what constitutes work-life balance to you? What do you think?
It's
based on the Lucas now in 2024.
In 2024, I'm going to have to spend less time on new business initiatives, more on what gives me stability and is more reliable and family, which is a trade-off, because I like to follow risk, I like to try new things, but this year is a bit more about property and stable income, and unfortunately less about taking risk and entrepreneurial stuff.
Well, this is interesting because for many of us that we have a journey of small business or side hustle, is that we need to recognize that they are so intertwined with our life. So we need to make a decision of what we can do. because the thing is, I came to terms about I would love to set up a platform for small businesses, but I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
That's why I want to do a podcast. So in a way, this is my outlet to give me that level of satisfaction. Now, have I achieved work-life balance? I don't know. No, not yet. I can't say that, but I may be on the way to do that. So in a way, that made me feel hopeful.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately for all of us, like, you know, whoever you are listening out there, it's just about creating that hopeful feeling about what you want to do.
Yeah, move forward. Yeah.
There you go. Last thought topic,
Yeah.
career satisfaction.
Career satisfaction. Oh, that's
a big one.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Do you pursue career satisfaction, or you just pursue the end result? I mean, is one the same as the other? I'm not sure. What is the end result we want? We want nice, stable lives. We want profitable ventures. We want, you know, affluency, freedom. Does that go with career satisfaction? I don't know.
Well, all right, I'm going to overshare a little bit again
But,
because for me, I have some idea of what I want long term, which is independence. Because the thing
that's a
is,
big one.
this is going to sound weird, but ultimately, when I go to the later stage of my life, in my 70s or 80s or something like that, I'm a skeptic person. Not that I don't believe, but I don't expect people in power to look after me when I'm in my 70s or 80s. So I just felt like having that, getting to a point that, for example, I own my own home and I have a steady income. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for becoming the next rich person in Australia. I'm not thinking about wanting to become a leader in the LGBT community or something like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm just want to have a time that I feel good about being where I am.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, back to a little bit more shorter term,
Yep.
is that I don't expect my full-time job to give me all the satisfaction that I want when it comes to work.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, well, I do what I do there, and I do well, I think, and also just enjoying my time being there. And that's that part of satisfaction. But at the same time, I'm starting my Chatty Curator venture to give me satisfaction, working with small business, talking to small business. Yeah. So I think that's my balance. So I'm looking at my short-term satisfaction and my long-term satisfaction.
Good. That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is not rehearsed again.
Yeah.
Can I just get you on top of your head? What's your can you see your short-term and long-term satisfaction?
Short term, I guess, because I've got a family now. So short term is just meeting those immediate things. I mean, we're in a lifestyle housing crisis. We're in a blah blah blah. Mine's, get stability. Make sure my partner's happy. My child's, going to be educated in the right school. If that happens to be that it's earning a PAYE job and a combination of contracting and a little bit of entrepreneurship, so be it. But in the background, definitely long-term want to grow something that gives me the freedom. So I guess I'm playing it balanced at the moment. If I was on my own, I'd take a lot more risks. But when you have a family, you kind of, keep an eye on a few fires, so to speak.
Well, look, I mean, in many ways, that's another form of satisfaction.
Yeah,
because you have a family.
Definitely.
And look, I mean, for me, it's my decision that I don't want to have a child. Oh God, imagine a repeat of this, Arthur. Oh no, we don't need that in the world. But then the thing is, that's why with different choice in life that we gotta change and pivot over time. Because the thing is, if you ask me 5 years ago or 5 years from now, my answer may be different.
Yep.
So that's part of it.
Point.
Yeah,
Let's check in next year.
Yes. Well, I mean, in that case, I want to make sure that all of your listeners out there spend some time think about what you want in life, because these thought topics that we talk about, it might help with your business operation, or the other part of it is, might just be life. Ultimately, that's what is it. Well, before we go, Lucas, can I get you to share one tip, one advice based on what we talk about so far with our audience, please? Don't worry, if it goes to shit, I'll cut it out.
All right, okay. Don't think that the technology is going to substitute for just good common sense. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And you are good at what you're doing, so that's why you start your own business. And good luck. Oh my, I might have overshared. And well, now you know a little bit more about my true ambition. Oh well, I encourage you to take a moment about what satisfies you in life and the lives of those around you. I also want to encourage you to follow this podcast, and I release new episodes every fortnight, and sometimes they're interviews, and sometimes you're getting thought topics like this. And thank you once again to Dr. Lucas Merlo for his insightful conversation. It's on the show notes, but I want to reread out loud Lucas' bio. I like that he brings an approach that combines academic prudence with disruptive business and management techniques. His experience includes RMIT and University of Canberra, to name a few, and over a decade of building and launching businesses. He also advised and mentored small to medium-sized businesses. There's quite a lot of performance implementation focus, which means that what to do for a small to medium-sized companies to grow the way that they should be and realistically. I do like that he's very candid about feasibility. Maybe that's why we get along. You can find the contact detail of this and all of this series OG supporters on the show notes. The OG supporters volunteered their time to support this podcast, and I hope you'll take a moment to check out their website or give them a like on social media. Let's get chatty about your local businesses. Thanks for your time.